Okay, good afternoon. My name is Monty Henry, owner of DPL Surveillance Equipment, and you are?
I'm Carolyn Aranda.
And bless you. We have a meetup for the first time, and it's actually in Caraba Coffee in Ventura, California. And this is the first meetup, so it's going to be a little bit. We're going to improvise a little bit or whatever, try to make the most of it.
Yeah.
So bear with us as we try to figure out how we're going to structure this and how to get the best value out of it for all of those involved. What we did is we advertised or promoted the idea of looking at cyber security, terrorism awareness, and personal business security. And we're going to touch upon as many of these subjects as possible, probably putting a major emphasis on cybersecurity initially. You want to say anything, Carolyn?
Yeah, this is our first meetup, like Monty said. It is National Cybersecurity Awareness Month. And actually this week is actually called From the Break Room to the Boardroom, which means this should cover from small companies to large corporations.
I'll sit on the edge.
Hello. Sorry we're late.
Okay.
That's all right. People are just joining, so we're just yes.
We're just going over some preliminary things. We've got a Facebook Live feed, and we're just introducing ourselves.
Oh, sorry for the interruption. They're saying this is a National Cyber Security Awareness Month, and this week it's called From the Break Room to the Boardroom, which means it encompasses small companies to big corporations. And they're trying to make as many people aware about the security problem of cyber security as much as possible.
Now, when we talk about cybersecurity, a lot of times, cyber, just the word cyber, means a number of different things to different people. What does it mean to you? You mind if I address you by Bob?
Sure.
What comes to mind when you hear the term cyber, by the way?
Most people are working with computer networks and so forth. Anything electronically. Anything, basically, electronically.
What about you? Do you
Cloud, the cloud.
the cloud? You think about the cloud, and how about you?
It's all, it's the internet.
Okay. And you, Carolyn? Anything come to mind?
Anything about online.
Okay, now, I think the term cyber originally came into existence, if you will, during the 1940s. There was a cybernetics, for instance, where it had more to do with cyborgs and human interfaces with computers and such. And that was the initial inception of the term, because we couldn't foresee what the internet was going to be in 1940s. No one had any idea that we were going to be buying and selling goods, chatting, emailing each other back and forth on the internet. So way afterwards, then we started to take a look at the word cyber and what that actually connotates, and which typically means that now we get into cyber threats, cyber intelligence, cyber security, as Bob was referring to earlier. A lot of that didn't come until way afterwards. So now we use the word cyber, and when we use that term, those terms like that, they typically have a bad or almost a negative connotation, if you will, because we're talking about cyber threats and, again, cyber intelligence, cyber something where we're trying to counter what's going on with the internet. And unfortunately, a lot of that has to do with some of the more negative aspects, hacking, et cetera, et cetera. I'm sorry, you're going to go ahead?
I was going to say, because back then, though, cyber, that's when they had the UNIVAC 1500s. And so
Exactly.
Those machines, they weren't networked.
Exactly.
But then the precursor, which became a model of the network, was the automatic digital network, or AutoDEN. I used to communicate from overseas bases on the AutoDEN. So that was the precursor to it. Later on,
Right.
they added UNIVACs and the other systems. And they got on. I'm
Yeah.
an old man. I mean, I was there at the beginning. So
Right. Yeah, that's really critical to understand that. Yeah, those machines weren't networked, let alone online in terms of what we're doing right now. You can have virtual companies, virtual assistants, et cetera, et cetera. A lot of that really wasn't envisioned at that particular time. So now we fast forward. And if we can fast forward up until now, we find that we're in a situation where we have to we have two worlds that we're trying to straddle: the physical world where we exist, and then we have the virtual space, otherwise known as the internet. And a lot of times, what happens is we are confronted with a certain number of issues. You know, our data, our privacy.
Intellectual property that's being stolen, personal information.
And you know, being in the physical space, physical security, which is where we have our 20 years of invested experience, we're finding that a lot of times what starts off in the physical world sometimes ends up in the cyber. And what sometimes happens in the cyber world, unfortunately, manifests itself in the physical space. And as an example, children who go online and they want to play a game, or they just want to meet other people. A lot of times we're finding out that there's bullying that goes on, and maybe it'll start online and end up in the physical world where people at school now are harassing the children or whatever. And again, you know, when you do your online banking or something, right? Someone goes into your account and steals your money, or finds out that you're on vacation, you know. And so I find out that you're on vacation because you're posting pictures on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else. And exactly. And then what happens? Someone says, okay, your name was Paula. Someone says, okay, I saw Paula, a picture of her in the Grand Canyon. I doubt very seriously whether or not she's at home. So maybe we can go pay a visit to her and see what's going on. So that's an example where what starts off in cyber or on the internet or whatever translates and ends up in the physical world with an actual visit to someone's house or something. Right. And you end up with a residential burglary or anything like that. Anybody have any questions or comments so far?
No, but it's interesting because the neighbor around the corner, I got notifications just a little while ago. We've had 2 more vehicle break-ins in the last 2 days within a block.
What about the
Wow.
BB gun?
On Tiara Street, yeah. That was kind of, that even happened when I was a kid, but not to this degree. But this we're having, ever since those Prop 47 perps are staying down in the park, we're having vehicle break-ins all over Stonehead, you know, and the other neighborhoods. Really bad, really bad. This was on Tiara Street. 2 vehicles, and also happened to be a relative.
I think there's a separate subject about children and how to teach them online how to do things safely.
But anyhow, good. That's good. I
Yeah.
hear where you're coming from.
What was Prop 47?
Pardon?
What was Prop 47?
Prop 47, this is the one that they pushed that was going to help all the people that were in prison right now on drug crimes, that if you reduce it from felony to misdemeanor, get them out on the streets, they're all going to get help and jobs. And right now what they're doing, they're living in the parks and everything else, and they're breaking into cars.
Okay, so we probably should cover that separately. But yeah, that's very fascinating.
That's what I'm working on almost full-time.
Okay,
So
now,
that's why it's-
so let's take a look at some of the current issues. I always like to go over current events just so people can get an idea of things that they can be aware of, things to take home, things to take back to the office. Now, Carolyn was mentioned that this is Cyber Security Awareness Month. Obama proclaimed that October would be Cyber Security Awareness Month, and that we should do our part. We should play our role.
And it's been actually 13 years.
Anything specific about?
They've had Cybersecurity Awareness Month for 13 years now.
And we have separate themes for every particular week, right?
Yeah.
Where are we in terms of the theme for this week? Or
This week is from break room to the boardroom.
okay, and what about last week, just in case anybody missed out on?
Last week was Stop, Think, and Connect.
So what does that mean when you say stop, think, and connect? How does that translate into something that we can take advantage of or learn
Before
from?
you connect, or stop, and then think before what you're doing. See if it's really secure, depending on your knowledge. It's like on certain websites, you see the little lock. That's supposed to be more secure, for example. Or before you click on a link that somebody you don't even know sends you, you shouldn't be doing just clicking on links just because they want to show you a picture.
Make sure your password isn't like Monty.
Exactly.
Complicated password,
Yeah, complicated password.
and run your antivirus the second you log on. I think.
And
No, you're absolutely right.
try and think about the consequences of your behavior online.
That's bad.
Some people
That's
don't
bad.
care. They just want to be popular. Well, they'll be popular with people they don't want to be popular with.
So that was October, I think, actually October 3rd
That's
through the
first
7th.
week of October, yeah.
And they your name again, I'm sorry. Ed? My name is Monty, and this is Carolyn. I think between October 3rd and the 7th, that was the Stop, Think, and Connect theme for that portion of
And
the
then
month.
this week, the 10th to the 14th. Yeah.
Then we have from the break room to the boardroom, creating a culture of cybersecurity in the workplace. That basically has to do with what do we need to do as employers and employees? What does that relationship look like in terms of protecting the company, its intellectual property, the data? As an example, if I throw out the term ransomware, has anybody heard that term before?
Unfortunately,
What comes to mind, Ed, when somebody throws out that?
destroying my business.
Really?
Yeah.
Could you give us some idea in terms of how that actually played out?
The system was infected.
And they asked you to compensate them.
We didn't respond, we just got a new computer.
Okay, so you instead of responding or giving in for paying the ransom, you decided.
A whole new software.
He got a whole new computer.
Okay, so
I mean, it was backed up.
it was
and
backed
it
up.
was backed up far enough. I mean, the backup got infected.
Oh, okay, really?
We don't really know how it happened, but we think that he clicked on something.
Oh, okay, right.
But to find out how it happened would require going into it and responding to it. So our IT guy just said,
They did it at a
It's
company
better
where I
to
was
start all
consulting.
over.
What?
They did it at a company where I was consulting also.
Oh, they did.
And but like you, they had extremely good backups, protocols, and everything else that they were able to give them the finger and
Okay,
and within a couple of hours get on with business.
okay,
so we don't know what the ransom was. We don't know what the
right. You didn't get to that point. Okay.
Well, that was pretty smart.
We
of
didn't
you.
even respond, right?
Yeah. And I didn't find out about it except that it was embedded in a presentation that was
Oh, really?
that I was making and participating in with the American Bar Association. One of the people in the group was a tech sophisticated, and she told me about it.
So it's like a PowerPoint or
Oh wow!
okay. So somebody didn't do their part as far as scanning presentation files or whatever.
I don't know how.
It's kind of hard to see.
We
Yeah.
don't really know. Because
Yeah.
we just didn't.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
Yeah.
I don't blame her.
That's tough.
Your major concern was just getting back online.
At that point, figuring it out.
Right.
Didn't really.
It's going to take too much time and effort.
I mean, he had to buy a new computer and pay for somebody to,
Right.
upload all the software and all the data. So the money went to.
Oh, okay.
And make sure it's even more secure, hopefully.
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah.
you never
There's no
know, but
guarantee.
you just have to make sure you don't click on it.
Yeah.
That was what.
Yeah.
Exactly. More than likely, that's what happened.
And the problem with ransomware is you never know whether you get it, even if you pay the couple $100.
Exactly.
You never know whether it's gone.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. Most hackers, they're not the most trustworthy people to begin with. So we probably should assume that even if you get your data back, who's to say that it hasn't been modified,
Or
or
they'll
that
ask
it's
for
still
more.
that it's still.
How much money it was going to be.
Right.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
never got to that point.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
It Did you throw away or did you reformat it? Did you reformat it?
Oh, I got a new computer.
Totally new. Well, that's.
Well, just so you guys
But
are,
I'm linked to him and I didn't get it.
oh, okay.
So,
Well, that's typically what we advise people in the experts in the field. You know, we suggest that you take a look at your backups. You know, how much time and effort and money is it going to entail getting your information, even if it takes a little bit of digging to get everything back, versus give it in to the hackers, for instance. So I think that's a good idea that you guys decided to just get back online as soon as possible. One industry where, just so you guys know on Facebook or whatever, one hot industry for ransomware attacks just happens to be the healthcare industry. And you guys probably heard the news or read it somewhere that basically what the hackers are trying to do, they're trying to compare the payback on the data that they can get. For instance, if they steal a bunch of credit cards, there's actually a black market for credit cards and that data, right? Now, the going rate, believe it or not, for credit cards is not as high as compared to medical records. With medical records, it's kind of hard to change the Social Security numbers. It's kind of hard to change your medical background, the tests you take and whatever, right? So that's valuable information. And we're finding that a lot of times that's ultimately what the hackers are looking at. How much am I going to get as far as my payback if I get 1 million credit cards or 1 million medical records from St. Joseph's or whoever, right? And so, yeah, you go where the money is, even if you're a criminal. You know, that's the way they operate.
Well, our doctor's network has gone online now, and that worries me because I wouldn't even want to account with them. So I don't even want it accessible online. I worry about my wife. But,
Well, unfortunately, that's the trend. More hospitals are indeed for some very good reasons. I mean, if you travel, a lot of times you want to.
it's really hard to keep track of all your history, your medical history as an individual. And
Right.
I agree, especially if you change health plans.
Right. So the idea, unfortunately, for better or for worse, is going to probably be to make sure that it's electronic and it's going to follow you. And unfortunately, with the Internet of Things, another term that's thrown out there and everybody's embracing it, the Internet of Things is going to mean that devices are going to be with you and then they're going to be networked and medical records will be, part of that. It'll be if it's not going to be maybe it'll be your iPhone, maybe it'll be your iPad that'll actually contain as much medical information as the doctors or hospitals have. So we're really going to we're going to be living in a different era for the most part where, the good news is information will be there. As you mentioned earlier, and it's in the cloud, and you pull it down and hopefully it'll be safe and secure. So things are moving quickly, but these are some of the things we have to contend with. And ransomware is just one issue, one area where we have to do our part, make sure those backups are on multiple different places. One place would be probably the cloud, right? Maybe if I can put things in Dropbox, maybe if I can put some things in Apple's iCloud. I think Google has Drive. So, and if they can give us some sort of reassurance that they're doing the best they can, Apple's pretty good about it, so far as I can tell, then we'll be okay.
some of them have not done a good job because Microsoft didn't allow individual passwords on documents. So I had to go with crypto, but
They wouldn't?
they wouldn't allow passwords. You couldn't do like you can normally set a password on a Word document and so forth. You couldn't do the password and get them on because on the Crime Stoppers network, what happens when we get stuff through the tip system, whether it be by phone or whatever, it goes through a thing called TipSoft. It's
Right.
helped set up an LAPD too when we did it there. But when the stuff comes through, it's encrypted. But then when we forwarded it, we couldn't forward it with a password to it.
Oh, really?
We could do it on the BlackBerry. The BlackBerry was better than anything.
Oh, okay.
We could forward it on the BlackBerry, password encrypted.
Yeah,
But then when
it's annoying to get to want something from your stockbroker, and you have to have password to get it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like,
Or you can just go ahead and call them.
yeah, I mean,
Well,
Call them, but if you need something in writing,
Oh, okay,
you
right.
can't just call.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of things that you need either to them or to you
oh, sure.
that require a writing of sorts.
and that's why faxing, you need to be able to fax, particularly with medical records and with financial documents, because sometimes they can't accept them electronically. They need,
Right.
It has to be like old school. You need a
Yeah.
signature.
so faxing, you know, does that.
Well, that's another area that I was just blogging about just recently, dealing with your financial advisor, believe it or not. How many of you have ever asked your financial advisor, for instance, about their policy regarding your data?
Mine provided the policy, and I never wrote the policy.
What are they? I guess what I'm referring to, Bob, is if in the event that there's a data breach, do you have any idea about the liability?
I don't,
Okay, so these are some concerns that I think we should address. No,
use the contracts.
well, it's okay. Look, this is a hot area, believe it or not, because we're trusting more and more our financial advisors to, know something about our brokerage accounts and our real estate contracts and this and that and the other, right? Because when tax season comes, they what do they say? Give me everything. Give me all your paperwork, right? But now we're finding out that we need to ask these guys, okay, so if you sell your company, what's going to happen to my data? If someone hacks into your computers or your network or compromises your security, what is the liability? How am I going to be compensated or something? So there's a number of, and I'm going to put this in some links in the meeting notes if possible, and put this on Nextdoor or something so you guys can actually, because we're covering a number of different areas. We won't be able to go into as much depth as possible. We'll be here for 2 hours. So,
It's already making me anxious.
2 years.
right. But some of the questions, like where will my data be stored? Who will have access to it?
And even if they say where it's stored, you don't know that it's going to be there, because they may be ransomware.
Yeah, you
The
never
whole
know.
thing is making me anxious.
Right. Yeah.
Mistrust.
But we have to realize, look, just like good housekeeping or whatever, unfortunately, if we don't tend to it, guess what? Someone else will, and we don't want to wake up.
It's like, it's interesting, it's like an attorney protecting the clients, but they're not thinking about themselves.
Exactly. Okay.
In all the years of systems, and I never thought, I just didn't even think into the details, I just, what the guy dealing with.
How many lawyers do not have wills?
Exactly. Yeah. Okay. So some of the questions may be: Have you ever been the target of a cyber attack? Your financial advisor needs to be able to answer that question. How will you help me in the event of a breach? Okay, and don't overshare, as Paula pointed out. When we're interacting with these financial advisors and planners and such, what all do you need from me in order to get the job done? In other words, do you really need my Social Security number? Do you need access to my brokerage accounts or whatever, right? These are critical questions because, believe it or not, a lot of times they can get the job done without giving up full access to everything that's, really valuable to you. So, and there's an organization, I can't remember the name of it, that actually has a lot to say about, the SEC, for one, I think has jurisdiction over a lot of these financial planners. And there's another organization.
Complaints to the SEC, and I don't know how good they are.
Yeah.
But the banks, these people that are trying to defraud you by coming in and getting your accounts and everything, most people don't have to go back and look in the sending email address to find out what it really is. They don't look at the details. They'll camouflage it and then go back in and realize it's coming from RU.
Are you talking about the phishing scams?
Yeah, a lot of those. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, with the phishing scams, that's a pretty good.
Big ones with Wells Fargo and Bank of America.
Yeah, that's a good technique. I don't know if you or Ed or Paul have ever seen this before, but a lot of times you can find out whether or not an email actually reflects who you think it's coming from.
When you look at it.
You look at it closely.
Although I've been getting stuff sent to me from me that
Oh, really?
that I'm not. It's not from me, but it
Exactly.
says it says me, and then if I look at it, there's something to clear.
Right, exactly, that's,
But I know I didn't do it, so I don't click on it.
but a lot of times the people that are doing this, it's so obvious, but they don't realize it. Is this gonna look suspicious to the person receiving it? Yeah, because I've had that too, and like, this doesn't make
You've gotten
sense.
stuff from you,
Or
that
something strange.
Yeah. I don't
Doesn't
know.
make sense.
I don't know how they do that.
They're-
Send an email
It's so
to
obvious.
me that's from me. I don't know. I don't click on it, so I don't know what it is.
I don't, yeah.
Yeah, the spoofing can look very, very genuine. And a lot of times when I send out my newsletter to my customers, it's actually from me and to me, but everything else is BCC'd.
Yeah, but
You know.
But your clients are not getting to you from you. They're getting to them from you.
Well, no, I don't want them to see any of the other guys' email
Right,
addresses,
but-
right?
But I'm saying I get an email.
Oh, yeah,
and it just says
yeah.
it's from me.
From you. Now,
And-
I'm like, that's weird, yeah, that's.
Yeah.
that's
You know,
suspicious.
I can send myself an email and it would be me, but I
Right.
haven't been doing that. So why am I getting
Right,
you know,
exactly.
well, no, in your case, that's how that's one of the techniques that they use to make it look like, it's something that you can open, that it shouldn't be a big deal.
Right.
You know. Yeah, that's going to be a problem. Anyway, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Office of Compliance and Inspections, they're the one of the organizations that can take a look at financial planners and such. And if you have any questions or comments, and then we have the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. I think that's headed by Elizabeth Warren. And she's lately been going after Wells Fargo, for instance, making the news, grilling the chairman of Wells Fargo for allowing the salespeople to create all the bogus accounts. And that's been making the news lately. You guys probably seen that? Yeah, so don't hesitate to take a look at working with the CFPB if you have a problem with companies not doing their part to help you out when you file a complaint and they're not following up and they're not helping you. A lot of times I would tell them, I'll tell them, look, I'm gonna turn you over, and just a threat of it. A lot of times, I make a lot of headway actually, just threatening people, without actually going through. I just tell them.
Risking, but you saw where they busted that.
In India?
That was
Yeah.
neat. That was neat.
Oh, sure.
I'm glad to hear that, 'cause
Yeah.
I've been getting
Last couple days
a
ago.
lot of those lately.
Exactly.
I do, I call them back and I harass them. And then they hang up and they disconnect the number, they get all pissed off.
At least the Indian government,
I didn't hear that they caught them.
they did.
Yeah, they did.
Is it just one person doing it?
No.
No, it's a telemarketing operation.
Hundreds of people in a call center.
Yeah.
And Mumbai. There were hundreds of people in the call center. And some of the people that they recruited actually believed that they were a subcontractor for the U.S. government
They really.
because of all the call centers, the way the stuff works over there. So they arrested
I can't
some.
believe that anybody thinks the IRS is going to come and get you.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, believe it or not, I don't know. See, I
People are
think,
scared of the
there's
IRS.
people older than I am, and
People
they're
are
worse
scared.
than mine. So.
and yeah. Well, see, when someone tells you you're going to go to jail, or you can pay a certain amount of money, and then it's just a numbers game like anything else. If I call enough people, if I get a small percentage of people to give me whatever amount of money, and their take was supposedly $100,000 a month. So you make as many calls as you can, and you intimidate many people, and if it doesn't work, the phone gets disconnected, or you hang up the phone, and that's it, right? You move over to the next one.
What's interesting is DPD put the warning out just about a week ago.
Who?
DPD,
They did?
They put the warning out about a week ago to everybody in the network, and then all of a sudden, bam, they make the arrest in India. And I go, yes.
Yeah. Well, I guess we can credit the Ventura people for that one. Hopefully.
No,
Right.
they've been working on it like this so long.
For a while.
Something's
Oh, that's
gonna
good. Yeah. Whoever can stop it from happening. So moving right along, do you guys have any particular questions or anything that you want to talk about?
No, but you brought up a really good question because I'd never really considered the total policy of the
Financial
bank, the guy
planner?
that's handling all my financial stuff. And I got stuff, Harvard and everything else, but I got a common guy that's kind of doing management. I never really considered that.
Yeah, that's one new area. Yeah, when I first saw that article, I thought, let me blog about this and get this out there because there's a lot of people who are going to be in big trouble because the hackers are saying, look, we can compromise. Who do we go after? The small guy who has limited resources to protect the data, to protect the information? Or do we go after the big fish, like Fidelity, TD Ameritrade, or Ing, or somebody, Waterhouse, or whatever, right? So there's a trade-off because the big guys have resources. They got IT departments, and they can hopefully keep the bad guys out, right? Yeah. But the accounts are much larger. If Bob has his $100 million account with Fidelity, and I'm a hacker, I can say, okay, if I get into this account, I get $100 million. If I go into the smaller mom and pop shop, into their accounts, their financial planners' accounts, maybe I'll get 10,000 if I'm lucky, right? So a lot of times it's like, okay, where do we go? After the big fish or after the guy who doesn't have an IT department at all? We can't do anything. So it's something we got to take a look at. One of the things that was in the news lately is Apple. Who has an Apple phone?
We do too.
We have Apple phones. Apple had a flaw in their iOS 10.
Apple? Really?
Yeah. And basically what it amounts to, and you probably want to look into this when you get back. Apple's iOS 10, which all of us are downloading and trying to take advantage of, set it up and understand all the features and benefits. When it comes to backing up locally, some researchers, otherwise known as good hackers, white hat hackers, found out that when you back up your data locally on your hard drive, external drives, or whatever, the encryption algorithm is not working properly, and it can be compromised without a whole lot of effort. Okay. But the good news is Apple says they're working on a patch, and they're going to push it out as soon as possible. So you may want to call them and ask them, did you push it out? Do I have it? Or whatever. And this is the good news also. When you back up to the cloud, hopefully you guys got your thing enabled so you can put a certain amount of data into the cloud. That is not a problem. So, yeah, look into that when you get a chance and see.
I had to go. I'm almost in the phone changing time again too. But after the BlackBerry started having, RAM had a little problems. I went into the Windows one, but the reason was because I needed something that I could get into the Crime Stoppers website and into the police one with the password and everything, and do stuff as an administrator remotely because I was doing a lot of traveling. And now, so I'm trying to get. The problem is the Windows phones are good. I had a Nokia 1020, it was wonderful. And Apple, I can't do Apple. Apple won't work, and also the Android won't work for what I'm doing.
Really?
Oh, really?
What about the
For
Dropbox?
what I'm doing. Oh,
Dropbox is if you put a password protected file into your Dropbox.
I got all kinds of password protected files. I get in real fine with my phone. I do what I need to do, and I can do the security on it, but we have some problems.
Huh. Okay. So think about how that works. Okay, Yahoo, in the news lately, what comes to mind as far as the Yahoo? They have every conceivable problem in the world lately. What comes to mind, Paul? Anything?
That all their email accounts have been hacked.
Exactly. What about you, Ed? You heard anything different other than that email account problem with Yahoo? Anything come to mind, Bob? Besides that one?
Well, they're for sale.
They're for sale. That's true.
Yeah, and the exec's leaving with a lot of money.
Yeah. What's her name? Marissa Meyer.
Yeah, she's leaving with a lot of money in her pockets.
Okay.
For failing.
We can't do anything about that, I don't think.
That's what happens.
Right. Exactly.
For
We're not that.
Wow.
You get it.
I
Yeah.
hope we fail.
Exact.
I have a Yahoo account that I don't use.
Okay.
Is that something I should just get rid of?
Well, this is the good news about the latest hack. Okay, Yahoo supposedly had encryption, so that your password, usernames, etc.,
Yeah, I
they're not visible
didn't understand what you said.
to the hackers and such, because supposedly Yahoo had encryption in place. It's just that the data did get access, but you can't see what it is.
See, I don't even use that account. I don't even.
Well, a lot of people, believe it or not, are in the same exact situation. I think most Yahoo users aren't doing a whole lot with business related with Yahoo.
I would get rid of
Yeah.
it. That's just me, though.
Yeah.
You know why? If something's there, why you're not using it, just get rid of it.
Yeah, I don't even know if I know what.
Well, junk mail is good. Look, a junk mail account, there's nothing wrong with a junk email account. If you need to log onto some sites and you know you're going to get spammed and everything, it's good to have a junk account.
Yeah.
Just saying. But anyway, Yahoo secretly scanned customer emails for U.S. intelligence sources.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, Yahoo built a custom software program to search all of its customers' incoming emails for specific information provided by U.S. intelligence officials. So no one knew this until just very lately. That
That's
Yahoo.
why our IT guy doesn't like
Google?
He doesn't trust. I mean, how do you know that Google's not doing
Exactly.
because they have everything. They know everything.
One of the things
Right.
that reduces my concern level is that with credit cards and even with banks, if there's a problem, they will make good.
Oh yeah.
And so
Right.
if somebody goes in, I mean, if over the years, it's probably been about $75,000 worth of
False charges.
false charges.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why I will review every single
Yeah.
billing statement.
Good.
that
I
comes
don't
in.
blame you. That's
And
one
if
way.
there's a problem with it, I call the company and I say, this is not
Good.
a valid card. And they will cancel the card and
Issue another one.
another card.
Right.
And I don't pay that which is not.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, just for you guys on Facebook, I just want to let you know, Ed brought up a very good point. He doesn't lose a whole lot of sleep because he's reviewing his statements regularly, and he contacts the companies quickly,
My wife does it every day.
and he tells them. Me too. I'll check mine every day because I'm online. But yeah, you're right. If you look at those statements, if you call the companies immediately, they will make absolutely sure that first they compensate you, get that money back in your hands, and then they'll do an investigation. Now, if the investigation turns out that Ed is part of the mafia and he really is part of this major ring and he's part of getting something out of it, then that's a different story, right? But more than likely, they're going to determine about that Ed is okay and he didn't do anything intentionally, so he's going to be fine, right? So I think that's what we want to do. We want to make sure that we use these tools, and I'm pretty sure Bob does it, and we do it. Maybe you do it too. I don't know, but you have alerts that you can set up. If you do a certain amount of transactions online with the banks, set up alerts. Let me know when a certain amount of money goes out of my account.
It's happening already with Chase. If they see something that's unusual,
Yeah,
they will call me.
they will.
Good.
Yeah,
Really good at it.
exactly.
Ironically, I called this morning.
Really?
Yes, about an overcharge.
Well, I applied for a new Chase credit card, and we also have Chase. Our mortgage is with Chase,
Oh, okay.
and we have a couple of other things. they couldn't give me the new card because they couldn't verify my physical address.
Oh, really?
We don't get any mail at our physical address.
Oh, you have a
Oh,
PO box?
okay.
So all of our, so they wanted a copy of a utility bill.
Just to prove that.
Or even my driver's
That's
license
good.
has the business center address. It doesn't have. So I'm on the. So I call this person and I'm on the phone and I said, really, I can't give you anything. I don't get any bills in my
Yeah.
house. I cannot do this. I said,
Everything was for the P.O. box or something?
well, we get it at the business center.
Okay, yeah.
So much junk mail.
Yeah.
You get junk mail.
So I
like you walk
finally
the street.
said, look, you have our mortgage at our physical address.
Exactly.
Can't you look at it?
Right.
And she finally
That's a
did.
good comeback.
You
She
know,
finally did.
something that bothers me though is the difficulty in prosecuting. My son was scammed. Somebody who had a pretty hefty charge on a credit card, and we were able to trace the thing to somebody in New Jersey, and getting the coordination between the law enforcement agencies to get an arrest on a guy in New Jersey, even though we had him identified.
Yeah.
It was
That's
very.
bad. It's always out of state. We had something happen to somebody in Georgia.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, we're at 12:56, and I think it was hopefully a fruitful
So
conversation.
do you guys live in the neighborhood?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. We live in off Jasper.
Okay, so you guys are on Facebook. We appreciate you guys joining us in, and we're going to upload this to the internet,
Thank you.
and we'll let you know on next doors if you want to go back and take a look at it.
Yeah, I'm
So I'm a little,
That's okay.
I've